RPCR Episode 3, Sticking a Screwdriver in a Toaster. I'm your wonderful and only slightly greasy host, Renovated, and this is my co-host, Helios.
Still the best.
Yeah, still. Yeah, I mean, you're the smart one in this conversation. Today, I think we agreed last time to talk about, like plasma accelerators, something like that, and sex robots. It's gonna be quite the,
I don't remember talking about those, but yeah.
So, which topic shall we start on first? Or do you want to continue talking about the ships? Because I remember that was also a topic we were talking about last time, was like certain starships and how they could work.
Oh yeah, I think we were talking about Star Destroyers, but honestly I can't remember where we were going with that conversation.
Well, should we finish that up?
Well, alright,
like, would they be plausible in real life? Like, would they be aerodynamic enough to be in the atmosphere of a planet?
Well, I mean, I don't know about aerodynamic enough, but I think the bigger concern for plausibility would be having it so that it actually making the thing, because it would take a lot of materials in order to be able to construct a bloody thing.
Yeah.
Better.
Not to mention you have to construct the actual, like... Well, you wouldn't be able to construct a thing on a planet because it wouldn't be able to get into space very easily, so you'd have to construct it in orbit, so you'd have to have orbital construction yards. So that themselves would take a lot.
You could go the Halo Reach route and put giant thrusters on it, so that way it can tilt itself up and you can engage the primary thrusters.
That could work. Or we could just, like, we could do what we do now, and build individual parts and then set them up.
We did that once.
Pretty sure we did that multiple times with the ISS and the Hubble Space Telescope.
Hubble telescope just went right up as it was. It's not that big.
Didn't we send up something else with it? Like, didn't a part of it break, and then we had to, like...
Maybe, I'm not sure about that, but the ISS is the only thing we have to construct up there.
Well, still, I mean, it fits.
And really, the only thing constructing we did was we just pretty much hooked it together.
Yeah.
Sure, tied it up.
Yeah.
Put ducting around it, called it a day.
I mean, have you seen the way things built? That's pretty much how it was. I'm pretty sure the Russians used duct tape on it.
No, see, that's not a duct tape company then. Russians just use, I don't know, Russians.
The Russians use fellow Russians. They link arms and then just don't move. Yep. They're like those monkeys that have like hooked arms that you put together.
Yep. But I mean, eventually, I'm sure we will get to like things that big, but get to. I just sort of think about every now and again just how big a Star Destroyer is, and how it's not like at that point when you get that big, it's like, yeah, you could have it as war, but you could also have it as a freaking colony ship.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you got two different ways to do that route. I mean, you could destroy your enemies and then colonize it over their dead corpses.
Yeah, well, even then, I mean... Oh, here's a little thing for the audience. Comment down below what you think the ships will look like in the future. Do you think they'll look like something from Star Wars, like Star Destroyers or Hammerhead Corvettes, or maybe Star Trek? Maybe, what's the other series?
Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah, that series that nobody knows.
Well, which one are we talking about? Are we talking about the original, the 1980 version, or the reboot?
It's all fair game, man.
I mean, that's the real question. I mean, not what will it look like, or more, what does it feel like it wants to look like?
Yeah. I mean, it all breaks down to necessity. I mean, the Hammerhead Corvette would be good for more, like, fire ships in war, because they're good for more ramming ships. But they're not good for colonization. They're not very aerodynamic.
You don't even... You could just have, like, landing crafts, send people down, shoot them out in life pods, kick them out, I mean.
I suppose.
I mean, think about it. In a lot of sci-fi shows, the big ships don't actually get to enter orbit. They send out either tinier frigate-sized ships, or they just send out, transport ships or light pods. I mean,
we shall deploy our Lambda shuttles.
Oh man. So let's talk about why plasma reactors. I don't think we ever.
I was just pulling a name out of thin air.
You
what? Oh, you know what I was thinking of? I was thinking of how to keep further discussing on the ships how to keep them up instead of just flying constantly, like gravity well generators, like to isolate pockets of gravity to keep it floating.
Are you talking about like in the middle of space?
No, I'm talking like in atmosphere, like to keep it floating off the planet's atmosphere.
Usually planets don't enter. Usually the ships don't enter.
But if they would, like, to make them capable of it.
Well, what? I'm in the whole thing of screw it. I don't need to have a Star Destroyer enter atmosphere.
Yeah, we both have two different mindsets. That's what's going on.
Why bother putting a Star Destroyer in atmosphere?
Crashing it?
Then there's no need to be able to have it float. Seems counterproductive.
I don't know. I mean, if the enemy's entrenched, usually a Star Destroyer coming towards them would get them out.
Yeah, I mean, it would also destroy quite a bit. If you, I mean, I don't even actually know the true size of a Star Destroyer. I don't even think Disney or Lucas knew what a true size of a Star Destroyer would be, so I don't know.
I know LucasArts, their expanded universe, like, gave it an official size, scale, and weight, but beyond that, I don't think the new canon is.
I don't think they need to. I mean, that's just like one of those things where it's like, why? Why do you need to know that? They didn't give us the Enterprise's shit.
I think they did.
They gave us, I don't know, all I remember from it is the USS Enterprise.
That's about it, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
for all we know, it could be like a paper airplane flying through space.
It was. Have you ever seen that old show?
Yeah.
They made...
it got shot once and half the systems were offline.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, when they were actually, like, filming it, that thing wasn't big, people. I hate to burst your reality here, but that thing was a toy.
Yeah.
That they had, like, on strings and all that. I mean...
I don't know. The, Captain Picard's ship was pretty good.
Yeah, but that was when CGI was starting to get big. They could start doing bigger things like that.
Yeah.
Like, they made an episode to showcase how good their CGI was, so they could disconnect the disc.
Yeah.
In that episode, it literally didn't matter if they disconnected the disc. It was just like, why the hell not? We want to show everybody that we can do it now.
Yeah.
But,
I would ask the audience Kirk or Picard, but I'm pretty sure I know their answer.
That other guy. The guy from,
William Shatner?
Oh, God, no. Take anybody with William Shatner.
He has the most unnatural pauses in his voice.
Oh, God. Who's that? He plays that annoying kid in Next Gen. I know his name. Crap. It's gonna come to me halfway through this.
Which one? There are a lot of annoying kids on Next Gen.
The one with the doctor's son.
Wesley?
Wesley. He was just a bastard. And even Will Wheaton. That's his name. That's his real name.
I swear I've seen him somewhere else recently.
I think he only plays Tools now.
Probably.
Because he just has that face and that voice for it.
Yeah, he really does.
Makes me want to punch him.
It's a very punchable face.
Very punchable voice.
Yes.
I would find a way to punch a voice, if I could.
In general, he's just a very punchable human being.
Alright, so let's see. Why sex robots? Why are we going back to that?
You brought it up in the last episode.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't need to, Alright, so for all of those people who can't get, girlfriends or wives, which I assume is...
A good majority of our audience.
Yeah, well, eventually robots will become a big thing again, and well, I mean, let's face it, there are people like you who like you and us who might not ever get a girlfriend, so, I mean, there's one option for you.
If you ever play Fallout New Vegas, you know where this is going.
Oh, man. So...
Here's an interesting topic about ships. The Covenant and their weapon that they use to glass continents. Would that be something we could eventually get?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty much just a high-powered plasma gun, really, if I'm thinking about it.
But would it be, plausible on that scale? Or would activating such a weapon just rip the ship apart?
Not sure. I feel like it could work. Again, not the kind of thing that you want to have. I mean, let's face it, why would you want to just go around glassing planets? There's so many better ways to take it out.
Well, yeah. But glassing is just so much more fun.
But you wouldn't be able to get to use anything.
Yeah, but it's fun.
I suppose so, but not.
It's that like present question of like, would you use a planet cracker? You know, it would ruin everything, but it would look awesome.
I mean, some people would, and I think I'm looking at one right now who would like to destroy a planet.
Well, you're not wrong.
No particular reason.
Well, it's for science.
Mm. So, we've been talking a lot about science recently.
So, like, we're going to start talking about philosophy now?
I mean, we could. I was going to say, let's go political.
Dear.
A shit ton of political things.
Sure, why not?
So I mean, at least for the rest of this episode, I'd say, because that's...
Oh, good. 50 minutes of talking about nothing but politics. It's going to be great.
Oh, man, you guys are going to love us by the end of this one.
Oh, it's going to be good. Hold on to your butts.
So, I feel like...
Episode 3, everyone hates Renovated.
everyone hates this show now. I feel like everyone is saying that Trump is a bastard and all that, but I honestly, I don't like him.
Not my president.
But, I mean, I don't think much of the stuff he's doing really matters. It's more, like, superficial, really, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he did continue the Dakota Access Pipeline, but that's only because, like... It's to compensate both the police there and the workers, because they did raid one of the protester camps and they did find materials to build bombs.
Oh, wow.
So it's to compensate the police officers. And hey, you know, he continued it, and what is it, like a month later, the protesters came back and set the facility on fire. They're going to start it.
Yeah.
So much for peaceful protests, am I right?
So, I know I talked to you a lot about this, but I love the hypocrisy from all, like, the Hillary Clinton supporters, where they're talking about love Trump's hate, yada yada, peacefulness, all that.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But then here they are.
But the moment they lose a democratic election,
they burn and like, I mean, they do so much stupid shit.
I love it.
It's like,
you know that limousine they destroyed in one of their first protests?
Yeah.
That belonged to like an Islamic oil baron. So the people they claim they're defending, they were actually like breaking the property of.
But what I think is super funny, it's like, now, if Trump had lost, right? His people wouldn't be rioting in the streets. They'd just be like, whatever.
Yeah, we lost another election, so what?
Yeah, but it's like I don't think there's ever been a Republican outrage when their candidate loses. But I feel like now it's just like, oh my God, she was gonna be the first harpy president. Because I'm not gonna call her a woman because she was evil. People don't realize just how evil she was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Benghazi, she did nothing about. And those men were, like, they were sodomized. They were physically torn apart when they were alive.
I mean, just, she, like, claims, like, during her whole election, she lied to people. She was like, oh, I've always been with gay rights. I've always been about gay rights.
Yeah, and you go back, like, 3 years, and it's, like, you can find footage about her saying, oh, gay rights, we don't support that.
No, she was heavy into no gay rights. She was like, their only rightful way to be married is with a man and a woman. But then, you know, she's all talking about gay pride. I'm like, you're lying to their faces, and they're just eating it up. That's what I hate about politics now. It's not about trying to help people. It's just about who can lie better to get what they want.
Yeah.
Don't
even get us started on Soros.
But the media is what gets me. Because I know it was a few years ago that they passed the bill saying that the news channels don't have to say anything truthful.
Yeah.
Like, they don't have to, they can be pure entertainment. It's like, if I wanted fucking entertainment, I'd watch Cartoon fucking Network.
Well, back when they were good.
Yeah, back when they were good. back when they were good. But it's like, when I want to watch the news, I actually want to get the truth. And you can piece together the truth by pretty much taking whatever they say, realizing if the TV station's Democratic or Republican, and then just switching it around.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, what they're saying is the opposite of what actually happened.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But like, oh my God, they annoy me so much. It's like, half of the TV stations are saying, oh, Hillary's an amazing person. No, she's not.
Wrong. It's more than half, actually, because almost every news station I found you know, for a good long while was saying, like, Hillary Clinton leading by 98% or something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically they weren't wrong. She did get the majority, but it didn't matter.
They're doing the same thing over in Europe now. Because, there's a bunch of right-wing candidates that are getting really popular over there.
Mm.
Like Le Pen, and there's a German one that's getting really popular.
I heard about that. And how Russia is influencing their election again.
Yeah, but now they're saying, like, oh, the left-wing presidents who are running again, they're, like, getting the 70%, 90%, you know?
But, see, the thing is everyone's like, oh my god, I hate Russia. They were rigging the election for Trump. I don't think they were.
No, they had no reason to.
Well, they were, but they weren't. They didn't rig it. They just said they were telling the truth about Hillary.
Yeah.
They were saying she's an awful person. Don't trust her. And if there's anybody you should listen to about that, it's the Russians. Because at one time when she was Secretary of State, she went to Russia to try to go fix relations with them. And, you know, the Russian Prime Minister's there and all that, and she has an easy button, and she's like teasing the guy. She's like, come on, press it. Come on, press it in front of the camera. And the guy's like, I don't want to do that. No, I don't. And then he finally, you know, just does it to shut her up. And and it goes, that was easy. And she's like, see how easy it is? And it's like, so rather than actually helping.
Note to anybody listening, never, ever, ever taunt a politician with a "that was easy" button.
Yeah. But, oh my god. Like, I mean.
Wasn't she actively, like, calling for war during her, like...
Yeah. See, the thing, and this is one thing, is really controversial, I guess, but I think, like, isn't it good that we don't need to go and be like, Russia is our brother. We don't need to, like, go into, like, the whole, like, we are so close with Russia that it's, like, we're one and the same. But, I mean, we are exactly the same as Russia in a lot of respects, but we have different end goals. We're, like, foils of each other.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing that gets me is, like, we in Russia are the big dogs on love. What? I don't even know how to finish that one.
On Earth.
But, like, you think about it, it's like, why do we want to butt heads on everything?
Mm.
I mean, talk about people are like, oh, the Cold War ended in the 90s. It never fucking ended.
It really didn't.
It just kept going, but the news didn't have to talk about it. They could just, so, it's like, we're still at the Cold War with them. Yeah, and we shouldn't be.
They actually surpassed us in production of, I think, hydrogen warheads.
What's funny is everybody likes to trash on the Russians for not being smart, but
are you kidding me? They're the first ones that made it into space.
They were beating us to space all the way up until we made it to the moon.
Yeah, until the moon landing.
That was the only thing they couldn't do. They could throw up as many satellites as they wanted. We couldn't do that, but we made it to the moon, and then we stopped. Russia's like, yeah, we'll keep going. And you know what's funny? You know what's ironic? We're buying our rockets from them. Our astronauts have to learn Russian before going into space.
Oh, yeah?
Because all the directions are in Russian. Because everything's made in Russia for space.
Yeah, that's the difference. You'll notice that if you've ever become an astronaut, things stop saying made in China after a while.
Yeah, it says made in Russia. In Russian.
Oh, yeah. So, therefore, you don't know if it is.
Yeah, so... I don't know why we just don't change our name of our astronauts and call them cosmonauts and give them Russian
Frankly,
names.
I wouldn't mind calling astronauts cosmonauts. Their suits look pretty cool.
I don't even think about their suits. I think astronauts, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Cosmonauts sound pretty cool, too.
Yeah.
I give it to Russia. That was a pretty cool name for it. But, anyways.
You see, I don't... Oh, you go.
I was going to double back and I was saying, you know... Putin was like, I want Trump to be elected. He was the better of the two evils. Yeah, he was a businessman, but you think about it, we're in debt. Don't you want a businessman who...
Yeah, it's getting to a point where America should be run more like a business. Just because we're so economically... How do you finish this? It's so economically poor, so economically, suffering.
Economically screwed.
Yes.
And people were like, saying, oh, what Trump is saying won't work, it's Reaganomics all over again. Well, technically, Reaganomics worked. It didn't work in the long run.
But it worked temporarily.
It worked temporarily. So I just hope that, Trump can learn from Reagan and actually be able to do a long-term plan.
You know what I really, really love? What I do on Facebook is sometimes I go to like liberal groups and I sit and watch them. They tend to praise Obama a lot, and I don't get that. They say Obama was like helped the country so much, and yet we went from 10 trillion in debt to 20 trillion in his 8-year run.
See, debt is okay. It means we're spending money, which is good. What you want to look at for how poor a country is its deficit.
Yeah.
Because the deficit is how much we can't pay back. That's rising at an alarming rate, which is why we're screwed.
Yes.
But it's really annoying how it was Jimmy Carter. I want to say it was Jimmy Carter who had this long-term plan. This was back when the first time around when we were going sort of back into the Great Depression kind of era, but we weren't going that far fast.
Yeah.
He put a nice, solid economic long-term plan, meaning he's like, it won't work in the beginning. You won't see a big change in the beginning, but if you keep it, we won't be relying on oil. We would have been way more heavily reliant on our renewable energy.
Yeah.
So, and he said, in the long term, if you keep this plan will bring us higher than we've ever been. Well, maybe not higher than we've ever been, but it'll bring us back to normal. And then Reagan came in, destroyed that. Jimmy Carter, he put solar panels on the White House. In my opinion, that's a smart idea. I want renewable energy. I want nuclear energy, like anything but oil. But that's not happening. And it won't happen with Trump. We're going to be stuck with fossil fuels for the next 4 to 8 years.
Well, because it's the most economically usable. Like I said, he's a business. Well, like you said, he's a businessman.
Yeah, he's a businessman. But we definitely need to go to nuclear and renewable energy if we want to keep the planet alive, and actually be able to get out of economic debt. Because a lot of the shit, everybody's like, oh no, see, that oil that we're getting from the Middle East doesn't affect that much. That's the whole reason why we're in debt.
Yeah. I think I have a theory that one of the reasons we're getting so much oil from Saudi Arabia, we're paying for so much of it, is because we owe Saudi Arabia a lot or something.
I think it's because Saudi Arabia is. See, I had to look at the news, but I want to say there was that huge thing where it's OPEC. They've been having disagreements on what to set their prices at, and I think Saudi Arabia, because they're part of OPEC, I want to say they dropped their prices, and I think that's why we're buying it from them, because it's cheaper, and they're like, screw you guys, we have so much oil, we need to sell it. But then you have every liberal saying, we're running out of oil, and the next year we'll be out of oil. I mean, yeah, we're running out of oil unless you believe the Russians. The Russians say it's a renewable energy source. If you just leave the well alone, it'll fill right back up.
Man, they're not wrong. You just leave the fossils alone for long enough.
Yeah, but it's not a renewable energy source. But yeah, we're gonna run out of it. I mean, I would say probably 10, 20 years from now. So we need to start thinking about it.
Imagine. Sorry, you keep going.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's just not super, soon that we're going to run out of it.
Yeah, but imagine, what kind of scenario we'd be in if Russia found, the largest oil deposit in the world in, Siberia. Imagine that kind of scenario. They'd have the world. That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, well, at that point, you would hear all the liberals and Republicans finally in unison saying, renewable energy source! Because most Republicans don't even like Russia. I think they hate Russia more than the liberals. And
we probably do, honestly.
I'm honestly fucking surprised we haven't gotten into a war with Russia. Just full out war.
I think we broke out into a few skirmishes during the Cold War, but beyond that, nothing
We had pseudo wars.
Yeah.
But I'm saying full on World War III style thing. because people think, like, NATO is still around, but the Warsaw Pact ended. It ended because they had to, but what's going to happen if we ever got into a war with Russia? Really what's going to happen is the Warsaw Pact versus NATO. And not because the Warsaw Pact wants to, but because Russia has all the Warsaw people right next to them.
Yeah.
So they're not gonna go against Russia, and they can't join NATO.
Yeah.
So NATO won't accept them.
It's NATO and the CSTO.
What I find funny is NATO, North Atlantic, yada yada yada,
Trade organization.
plus extras, because I want to say
Plus
Brazil.
extras.
Because I want to say Brazil isn't NATO.
Really?
Brazil's in South America, people.
Not the North Atlantic, in case you can't tell.
And in case you can't, I think Japan is in NATO.
Really? Oh yeah, I heard about that.
They're in the Pacific Ocean. They're in the wrong bloody ocean.
Yeah. Turkey is as well.
Yeah, Turkey.
I mean, they're right next to the Red Sea. So.
Yeah, but it's like, they should rename NATO to America's League of Badasses. And by that, I mean we would have to drop England, France, Poland.
Are you kidding me? Have you seen France? They're completely self-sustainable.
Yeah, on energy. However, I'm sure if there came another war, they'd roll over like dogs again.
I don't know. The French can be pretty badass fighters. Have you seen them in history?
Have you seen them in the last 2 world wars?
Well, yeah, that is the only issue, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say France probably won't make a comeback from it.
Probably not.
But, I mean, I know another war is inevitable. I just hope I don't have to fucking fight in it. Or if I do, I don't have to, you know.
I mean, I got flat feet. They're just gonna put me, like, at an artillery barracks.
So, knowing my luck, I'm gonna be out on the front lines of, like, New Stalingrad fighting. Because I'm one of those people who just has crappy luck when it comes to shit like that.
I feel like in the Third World War, the Geneva Convention's just gonna be completely ignored. We're gonna use, like, flesh-eating bacteria rounds or something like that.
Yeah, well, I feel like if we do, it would probably be another bone-biting war, because America would be in it from the get-go.
Yeah.
And when you look in the past, America wasn't in the get-go. Like, they came in at the end, so we were like, yeah, look at us, we're fucking badasses. No, we weren't. We were awful soldiers.
We sucked.
So every other war but those great wars, we lost after that. I mean, think about Vietnam War.
We lost Vietnam. We lost Korea.
Well, we didn't lose Korea, but we didn't help Korea.
That is a good point. We did not help Korea. We created the 38th parallel, I believe, and then that's where we are today.
I like to think that America's one of those late game things.
Oh yeah.
We don't play the early game. We don't play the mid game. What happens in the early game is we scratch our heads and say we're playing the game.
Yeah.
The mid game we say, I see. And then we secretly choose a side, and then we produce everything we need. And in the end game, we're like, okay, now throw our 1 million troops at them.
Yeah, like the defensive war with Germany was, I mean, the only reason they won that, actually, is because America threw so many soldiers into it.
Yeah, so...
I mean, World War I would have been it would have been won by the Germans.
Yeah?
Granted, it would have been a slog through France. And while the Russians were breaking down, and the Britain, basically what would have been, Germany won, France wouldn't have been annexed. It would have become a puppet state. Large sections of Russia would have been annexed, but again, large sections would have been puppet states. But then, say they won, you would have gotten into a whole scenario where now there's multiple communist revolutions in Europe because the countries are so poor, while Germany and Austria and Turkey are so rich and powerful.
Mm.
Like, France would have had a communist revolution. Because, I mean, the first time they were beat by the newly formed German state, it basically sucker-punched France in the stomach.
Yeah. No, we're good.
Okay.
Honestly, people don't give the Germans enough credit in those types of wars. Like,
They really don't.
Like, I was talking to my brother, and he was saying, how Normandy, it failed. Building of static defenses didn't work. I'm like, the only reason why it didn't work was because they were understaffed, and the Panzer unit didn't dare move because Hitler was asleep.
Oh, yeah.
Because it took them so long to make any progress to get on that beach with an undermanned, platoon.
Yeah, no one really takes into compensation. Like, the Panzer... First of all, it's like the Soviets with Stalin. They're afraid to disobey their leader's orders. Second off, Rommel had just come from a desert campaign. He was using his legion, I guess you would call it, on the beaches of Normandy. So he himself was, pretty much gutted. They were preparing for a different naval invasion somewhere else, so they put all their resources there and not on Normandy. So, for what the Germans were able to do with how little they had, I'm impressed.
And the only reason that Normandy happened was because of D-Day. Is that right? So obviously, America declared war on Japan, right? And at this point, it was really Japan and Germany who were fighting.
Yeah, the Roman Empire wasn't able to do much.
Italy was just fucked. But Germany didn't have to wage war.
Oh, no.
Because it was a defensive pact. So since Japan attacked first, they could have said no. But because Japan was being they were a strong ally and they were helping Germany out so much, we're going to declare war. It's the honorable thing to do.
Not really. There was a couple of other reasons that they declared war. It was I think Hitler had his own reasons for declaring war, and the Japanese declaring war first, which just happened to happen.
But see, I think he would have declared war after he took Europe.
Oh yeah, he would have.
If he didn't declare war, America wouldn't have had a reason to go and fight the Germans, and the Germans would have taken Europe.
Oh, if he made all the gains that he wanted to, he definitely would have. Actually, not really. It depends. Because there's significant evidence to say that he would have, and significant evidence to say he wouldn't have. Because one of the major factors is space. There's too much ocean in between. So if he would have, it would have been a complete naval war. Yeah. He wouldn't have taken any land.
I'm saying he would have taken Europe.
Oh, yeah. But he couldn't have taken America. He was developing the Amerika Bomber, which, when he was looking into nuclear technology, he wanted planes that could do carpet bombs with nuclear bombs to make them worth anything.
Can we just... I just want to say something about how Germans thought nukes were going to be made. They were using deuterium, which is heavy water.
Yes.
It had an extra neutron in it. They thought, because I think they did. I think there was one of their spies was trying to figure out the Manhattan Project, and one of the safety nets for the U.S. was them using deuterium water to do it. So then the Germans used that, and
they never got it.
No, they didn't, because deuterium water is just heavy water. It's inert. You drink heavy water when you drink water.
Yes.
Every 1 in a trillion things of water is deuterium. Every atom. But so they were doing that, and the U.S. went, oh shit, they took the bait. So they're like, well, they're gonna figure it out eventually. So what did they do? They sabotaged the plant that was making the deuterium water, solidifying in Hitler's head that the way to make nukes was deuterium.
Yeah, Hitler was, granted to the guy, he knew civilization building, he knew how to run a country, but he didn't know how to be a good general. He tried to be the puppet master for all his generals, and look what happened in the Russian front. Yeah. All his generals were saying go for Moscow. He could have. It would have pushed the Soviet government into Siberia. He would have been able to force a peace treaty out of him. But what did he do? He was wasting time taking farmlands.
Well, he wanted to take Stalingrad for the pure reason that he'd be able to have a medal saying he took Stalingrad, and then be able to say, hey, Stalin, how do you like your city?
It's called Hitlergrad now.
Yeah, but I think what I wish happened, I don't think he did it. When Stalin took Stalingrad back, I wish he sent the plaque over to Stalin. Made it a thing to see whoever could take Stalin gets the plaque.
Oh, I wish. But yeah, no, with scenarios like that, then you just end up with the Battle of Kursk, which is like
Oh my god.
Yeah, you know.
Just tanks everywhere.
Oh, tanks. It was the largest tank battle in history, and the Germans, I mean, they tried. Give them that. The SS divisions fought with brutality I haven't ever seen, but it just wasn't enough.
No.
And the Luftwaffe was spread too thin on the massive front they then gave themselves because they wasted time in the Battle of Britain.
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember why Hitler decided he didn't want to do a ground assault.
On England?
Yeah, and why he wanted to do an air assault.
Because of one thing. Hitler had a good amount of respect for the English. Because if he had taken England, he would have installed one of the other royal family members as a puppet government. He wasn't just going to make it into Germany Part 2. You know, like many people think. So when he sent his bombers over, they were supposed to bomb strategic resources. They were stretching the RAF to the breaking point, and had the Luftwaffe not killed themselves, that's how I'm going to refer to it, they would have been able to break the RAF. What happened was, the pilots of the German bombers, they thought they were coming up on an industrial area. They opened up their bays and let out the bombs. Turns out, they just bombed the largest civilian area in all of England. They bombed London.
Oh, man.
Hitler told them not to do that. So now, because they bombed London, they unified the people. Because they just brought the war to the people. So now, the RAF was able to focus their efforts, and what they did was they bombed a German city. They firebombed it. They completely destroyed it. So now Hitler ordered, that's it, that's the breaking point, you can bomb every English city you want to. That's how it started. But they were never able to get enough planes to achieve aerial superiority, so they were never able to send over ships to control the English Canal, and they were never able to land soldiers.
See, that's why I think you shouldn't have even bothered with an aerial assault in the first place. Germans, historically, I don't think ever did well in an aerial battle. Like, they had
Zeppelins, and they flew them over London, and for a while they achieved aerial superiority with, like, 2 Zeppelins, but once they fell, like, to the London ground, they didn't have anything else.
No, I'm trying to think. I'm like, I don't think that there's ever been a time where Germany has had a strong air force. Like, in that sense, where, like, they could achieve aerial superiority.
They haven't really had a chance. I mean, they had World War I with the Zeppelins, World War II with the biplanes and triplanes, and then you had the Cold War, where basically Germany was neutered. It was gutted.
Yeah, so that's why they should have... But then you look at, like, their ground attacks, and they just rock at it. They were just like, man, this is where we are.
Oh yeah, Germans are brutal when it comes to ground warfare. Have you seen the Knights, the Teutonic Order?
Yeah.
The pagan hunters, they basically broke all of Lithuania within, like, I think a week.
What's funny is the Teutonic Knights and some other types of knights they actually had, like, horns attached to their helmets, which you never really do that because it allows people to, like, grab you and, like, kill you easier.
Yeah.
But because the Teutonic Knights became such a, like, when you saw them, you were so afraid. They were like, we're gonna strike at home.
Oh yeah.
They were just fear factor.
No, they didn't just attack pagans, of course. They attacked Christians as well, and that was, of course, like, if you saw someone, like, I think the Germans were pretty big back then. If you saw someone, like, half a foot taller than you, with horns on them, with, like, a battle axe or a sword.
It wasn't that they were bigger. It was that, and I know, Bismarck, I want to say, yeah, Bismarck.
Which one? There were a lot of them.
Otto von Bismarck. He was like, you know what? An easy way to get people to surrender is fear factor. So he got anyone who was tall. So anyone who was 6 feet, which at that time, it wasn't a huge, it was like a big thing to be 6 feet because you were tall at that time.
Yeah.
He got all of them, and he made them into a brigade. They were called I want to say, they were the Giants.
Yeah, of course, we don't really speak German that well, so...
You're gonna have to put up with my English.
One thing I'm always impressed about the Teutonic Knights is basically they were copying the Scottish. Because during the Roman era, the Romans got into England. They got all the way up to the halfway point of the Isle, and then they stopped. So, we're back.
So, my favorite part about the Irish in the Roman times, the Irish were like, that's pretty good, Scots. You know how we're going to beat the Romans? They picked up their bastard swords, right? They took off all their clothes and just painted themselves.
Yeah, the Irish. It's something people don't really look at. Is in the British Isles, the Celts were brutal. Like, people think the Gauls were brutal, but the Celts... and the Visigoths as well, in the Iberian Peninsula.
What's neat is, because there'd been... So, Falcata is pretty much like a sword axe, in a sense.
You mind spelling it for the people at home?
You want to smell that?
Spell it.
Spell it.
Spell it. I can't speak very well, so...
Falcuta.
I see, I thought it was spelled with a V, but Falcuta.
Falcata.
Falcata. Okay.
Look it up. They're actually really cool. But they were an Irish weapon back in the, not even medieval times, the ancient times. Back when, like, bronze working was still a thing, because you could find bronze ones and iron ones, but not really steel ones.
Yeah.
Well, they would find buried ones that were extremely similar to the ones in Ireland, buried in the Iberian Peninsula.
Really?
Yeah, back in, I think it was still BC era.
So, were the Irish like the first colonial power then? Would you call them that?
I wouldn't call it colonial. My guess is they were sort of like the Vikings at that time, and that they went down there, they raided. They probably had like a very tiny settlement, and when a person died, they would bury them with their falcata.
Oh, yeah.
Or they would just bury the falcatas. Falcatas aren't used anymore, which is a tragedy, but because they are very good looking.
I don't know. I mean, we still use swords occasionally. There was one guy in World War II called Mad Jack who had bagpipes, and I think it was either a bastard sword he carried or just a long sword. He didn't use a gun at all. He carried the Scots, man, kilts, bagpipes, and swords. And so
what's funny is there's this whole idea that but like kilt you wear, like the pattern on it means like your family or whatever. It doesn't. That was just a handy trader said that so that way you could sell more kilts. More specialized kilts. So the type of kilt you wear doesn't actually matter. I mean, I don't wear a kilt because I'm not Scottish.
I do. I'm wearing one right now.
Oh yeah. But I guess we kind of got off the political track and went to history.
You know, I'm sure the people are very glad about that.
Sure.
I don't know, it's the internet and YouTube. People tend to be a bit more leftist leaning.
Leftist?
Leftist.
Leftist.
Leper.
Cool. You're a leper?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I'm literally dying as we speak.
I call his phone.
Yeah. Oh, you had mentioned the Viking Age.
Vikings, people always call dumb, but actually, they were extremely smart. They had farms, they had agriculture, they were... It was equally important that you could write, like, poems and all that, as well as you could fight.
Yeah.
So, you had to be a poet and a fighter to be considered good.
It was very similar in the Roman era when the Huns came over, because the Huns, of course, didn't really write their history. So, of course, you have these illiterate, you know, I don't know, I think the Romans used stereotypes against the Huns as well.
Yeah, we're all really good at that. But
the Vikings, you know, no one really knows why they died out.
I think it was just that, they probably, their towns advanced to the point where it just wasn't required to go do it.
Because of course they had they used trading navigation, you know, maps to wage war. They knew all of the rivers in Europe. However, they brought back with them multiple books and things like that. So one of the theories is how the Viking Age died was sort of the Viking culture was fizzled out because there had been so many conversions because they had been so deep in Christian Europe.
But what's really cool about Vikings is that some of their weapons, like their generals, had steel at the time. They had a steel weapon that was so pure of a steel that when they jabbed it into a shield, you could bend 90 degrees, rip it out, and it would just fling right back into position. That's unheard of because at that time it was mainly iron. Very few things were made of steel. How they think they got that was because Vikings were known to go down to China into the Middle East.
Yeah, Vikings did travel all around the world.
Where steel was a bigger thing. And they either bought or they learned how to make crucible steel.
Yes.
Which makes some of the purest steel imaginable. And they only gave it to the generals because it was such a hard thing to make at the time.
Yeah, and it's one of the reasons, it was steel because one of the reasons that they didn't have swords and only used axes was because, actually, similar to Japan, the metal quality of Scandinavia was so astronomically poor that you had to really pack it into one area to make it an effective weapon.
However, I want to say, I think this is a Scottish, Irish thing that happened. But they would, when meteorites fell, if it was big enough, they would actually make weapons out of it. There were meteorite swords.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, those would be heavy sons of bitches.
Plus 30 damage.
Plus 30 damage. Pretty much. But it was more of a spiritual thing that if you had a meteorite sword, the gods gave you this weapon to go kill your enemies.
Yeah. Paganism is really interesting. I like it.
Yeah. Kidding me? If you like paganism, you should look into the Japanese thing where there's like 50 million demons and 50 million lesser types of demons which aren't angels.
Yeah, it's like the Japanese they're strange.
I don't question them.
You really don't. Granted, to be fair, they have been isolated on an island for hundreds of years. You're bound to make up some weird shit when you're isolated.
But you know what I give them? They really turn their shit around. Like, I think, they still hold on to that cultural thing because,
I think they're very nationalistic still as well.
You see, but, the thing is that I think they just hold on to that culture, have that just barely enough culture, so that way they can say, look at us, we still recognize our culture, but if you think about it, if you had to put where the technological advances are going to come from, I would say just go to Japan if you want to do that. They are so advanced. Japan and South Korea.
Oh yeah, South Korea's insane. They have their equivalent of a washing machine is a basin where you put your clothes in and small robotic fish go around eating dirt particles out of the clothes.
Yeah, see what I find really funny, really ironic is America will go, we obliterated Japan.
Oh yeah. Isn't that really funny? That Japan's strongest ally is someone who nuked them twice.
Think about Germany. That's also happened. But see, the thing is part of our foreign policy thing that not many people know because we don't actually go to war that often is when we destroy our enemy, we rebuild them.
Yeah.
But we don't rebuild them with our technology. We rebuild them with the newest technology. So
that's why Germany and Japan are so advanced, because we built them as sort of, I don't know, what would be the best way to describe it? As like the Borg? Like they're all outfitted with technology and it's like...
Well, Germany, their stuff, Western Germany, that was the Allied side of it.
Yes.
They have 90s technology. For their bare minimum, the oldest things that they use now are 90s technology. The oldest thing we use is 1910, I want to say, back then, in the early 1900s. They're using things a century older than us.
Yes, almost.
Japan, they were using 50s things, but they decided, you know what, we're gonna advance ourselves now. And now look at them. They have some of the newest shit. Back in the 50s, we didn't obliterate South Korea.
No.
But we didn't do much at helping them not be obliterated.
Yeah.
But then we helped them rebuild, and now they have Seoul.
Yeah, that is true.
I'm just gonna look at Seoul. Because Seoul is they still have the rural parts of South Korea, but if you look at Seoul, you're like, holy mother of God, this is intense. Now, the strange one is Dubai.
Dubai is an interesting one, because, all around it is just desolate wasteland, but in itself is, all the oil barons sort of made this city.
You see, it's take the richest people in the world and say, here, you can have this plot of land, do whatever you want. They built a kilometer-tall tower.
Yeah.
For the fuck of it.
Yeah, they had no reason to either.
They were just like,
They've started building artificial islands.
No, that's, China.
Well, no, that's China and Dubai. Dubai has started building these, like, artificial metal islands and shaping it into, like, trees and all that. And, like, they've started building these island colonies and shaping it into the shape of, like, the world with all the continents. It's like, do you have nothing better to do with your money?
No, they don't. But, like, honestly, I know this is a personal thing, but I actually wouldn't mind visiting South Korea and Japan.
Oh, yeah.
Mainly because I want to go to South Korea to watch the StarCraft tournament, because those things get intense.
Oh, yeah, did they get violent? I remember them getting pretty violent.
Idra, who was the American who did it, it was a few years ago, he lost.
And he started, like, ripping shit up?
Yeah, he's almost started smashing his computer because he was so pissed that he lost.
I mean, I don't blame him. StarCraft is like golf. You lose, you rage.
Yeah. Oh, man, but, like, Japan I'd want to go to because it's so high-tech now.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Tokyo, holy crap. They just went... Because Japan was like, yeah, screw it, we don't want to go to war. They don't have a military.
They've started remilitarizing.
Well, it's like, their military is like our Coast Guard.
Well, yes.
They're only part-time people because they are under oath. They can't have a military because of us. We said, listen, you can't have a military or we'll kill you. And Japan's like, fine. We're like, you can have a Coast Guard though. We're like, thanks.
Meanwhile, they have China to worry about.
Yeah, well, no, because another thing is, we became their ally.
Oh, yeah.
So if they got attacked, we would step in as their military.
Yes.
But,
so sort of like a military for hire.
Yeah, well, not hot for hire. We felt bad for nuking you.
Something I found interesting about China is like during during what's his fucking face, Mao Zedong.
You could talk, but I won't understand that.
Okay, the communist chairman Mao, right? He when he took over, a lot of the culture of China, the religion of China, it was all destroyed. But something I find interesting is they're starting to get it back, even though they're still technically a communist country.
Yeah, they're the most communist, uncommunist country you'll know, because they're not communist, but they're communist.
They're definitely not communist, because Christianity, ironically enough, is becoming a dominant religion there.
Yeah, but it's like they're still technically communism. They're like so weird, where they say they're not communist, but they are communist, but they're not communist. They're like if Russia and America had a child.
Yeah,
and you're like, what happened to you guys? But like, oh man, I just don't even understand what China, like, I actually feel bad for China in one case, because they say World War II started technically 10 years before World War II officially started.
Yeah.
Because Japan went in and just killed and raped cities.
Yeah. Yeah, the, Manchuria. Manchuria was just completely ripped apart by the Japanese.
So, Japan, like I said, I don't question them anymore, but like, they were really, really evil at one point, and now they're just like, we don't care to be good or evil. We just say, here's technology.
I think they're,
and here's tentacles everywhere.
I think their emperor is still their god, but I'm not sure.
Like I said, I think it's just, they keep it as tradition, but it doesn't mean much.
Well, I know that, like
our cowboys.
What?
Cowboys. For America.
We still have them?
They don't do shit.
Well, I mean, why do we still have them?
They're, like, people from ranches can be cowboys, but cowboys just go along making sure cattle are fine and whatever. Like, we have unofficial cowboys where it's like, they don't mean shit. It's just part of our history that the South doesn't want to forget. Like the Confederacy.
Oh yeah, there's still a lot of Confederate flags down there.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a right. It's their country. Technically, I think because the South seceded, they are technically considered their own country. And under, I forget which law, countries are able to release minor countries within them. Like, Germany's allowed to release the Kingdom of Bavaria. America, we're allowed to release the Californian Republic, the Texan Republic, and the Confederacy as their own independent nations, if we so desire, without a war.
I think Texas, if they wanted to, could just leave now if they felt like
Oh,
it.
yeah. You see, Texas is a special case because they're not allowed to, or they are allowed to secede without causing a civil war. California, however, is not.
Yeah. But I think, I don't know why we wanted Texas.
We wanted it to get a foothold against Mexico.
How well did that work? I think it just went against us.
Oh, he did.
Texans.
Oh, yeah, the Texans, they hated us.
The only good thing that comes out of Texas is not even barbecue, but rooster teeth. It's one of the few things that come out of Texas that I like.
Granted, if Texas seceded, because of the amount of money we collect from the state of Texas, we'd have like a huge chunk gouged out of our economy.
We already have a crappy economy. I don't think we can risk it.
Yeah.
But Texas would have a worse economy. Leave Texas! I want to see your country fail!
You know, I love the whole Cal-Exit movement. There's basically a movement to get California to, secede from the Union. And then there's secondary movements in Oregon and Washington to get those two states to join in this Californian Republic and leave.
Oh my
But
god.
then...
Your Universal Versailles, Europa thing.
Oh, where California took over the world.
Oh my god. We're doomed.
Well, something that is primarily liberalistic ideas that make it want to leave. Because, they lost a democratic election. Oh no. But they realize now that they can't leave without initiating a civil war, and California doesn't even have the population to engage in a conventional war against America. So now they're saying, okay guys, let's just join into Canada instead. Yeah.
I think it'd be funny if Rhode Island seceded. Nobody would give a damn.
No one really would. Vermont wants to secede, ironically enough.
Let's face it, they're Vermont. I mean,
They'd fail immediately as a nation.
Like, Vermont is one of those where I'm just confused as to what they do. Like,
I was born in Vermont, and I don't even know what they do, so I can't help you there.
I think, because Bernie Sanders was from Vermont, right? Well, he
Yes.
immigrated to Vermont.
Yes.
Well, no, he was born in Vermont. His
Was
parents, he ran for president.
Oh, yes.
Can't immigrate. His parents immigrated to Vermont.
Obama wasn't born in the U.S. Ooh, controversy.
Not controversial. Already proven that he did.
Actually, it started coming out, and, they've taken another look at his birth certificate and found, I don't know, I think they found it was forged at the same time.
It wasn't forged.
I don't know. It's something I heard.
That's one thing that Republicans can't get over. He wasn't a true American. He was... Guys, chill it. Chill it. He was a true American. He was born in Hawaii. I know that doesn't give him a lot of right to say he's an American, but...
By right, Hawaii shouldn't even be a freaking state.
Dole Fruit Company.
They're the only reason we have Hawaii as a state. We should have Cuba as a state.
Dole Fruit Company. They didn't want to pay tariffs, so they staged
A coup d'etat.
to go make Hawaii part of us.
And hey, what do you know? The natives still hate us.
I'm not surprised.
That's actually another nation we can release.
Oh yeah?
Hawaii is a nation that we can release.
I don't think they want to be released at this point. They hate us, but they don't want to be released.
They don't have the economic power to be released.
Puerto Rico wants to join, but I feel like they don't want Puerto Rico to join because then it'd be an odd number, and we're the lucky 50. I think that's bullshit. Just let them join. I like how people think, we're not a colony, we're not an imperialism. We are.
Yeah, we have colonies.
Puerto Rico.
What is a territory? It's just a colony.
The Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
It goes on. I think we have 13.
We do. We do have quite a few territories.
Yeah, so it's pretty insane.
Anyways, we've been talking quite a bit for a while. This has been RPCR 3. Remember, sticking a screwdriver in a toaster. Don't do it. Or do. I mean, I don't care. Remember, and in case you're wondering, don't kick that homeless man. Don't do it. Or do it. I mean, Helios here, he says do it. He has it in his eyes. Anyways, I've been renovated. He's been Helios. And this has been an hour. I'm not good at ending.